Hey everybody, just want to talk to you a little bit as we wrap this week up, and want to respond to a question that I got in an email, really asking where is Zion and how do we build it? And that seems like a rather upfront question, but when you consider all of the different ways that we use the word Zion, and as you see the question, it'll make more sense. So this was the email. I just had a question about the 11th article of faith. This article of faith has puzzled me, and I wondered if you can help. I know we have been taught that Zion can be built in your own home, in your own country, and is built as you make your home a place where the Spirit can dwell. We are taught that it isn't just going to be upon the American continent. So I suppose we are to still teach as though this part used to apply to the church, but it now has changed since the church is a worldwide church. Is that right? Or is Adam-Ondi-Ahman the Zion it is referring to, and we can additionally build Zion in our own homes throughout the world? I just wanted to correctly understand. Thank you. So here's, I think, what we need to understand is that when we talk about what is Zion, or when we talk about building Zion, the word Zion is used in a lot of different ways. So, for example, Doctrine and Covenants 97, Zion is the pure in heart. So this can apply to anyone, anywhere. Same with this one, the idea that Section 82, Zion is the church and its stakes. And so as we build up the stakes of Zion throughout the world, we're no longer asking people to come to Utah like they were 150 years ago. Instead, we're saying, no, stay and build up Zion where you're at. On the other hand, the city of Enoch is also referred to as Zion. And so, this is typically where we talk about Zion returning to the earth. We're talking about a specific group of people here. Also, we can be talking about Zion as the ancient city of Jerusalem in the Old Testament. And then finally, we'll talk about New Jerusalem being Zion. So the answer to the question in the email is yes, all of the above. Yes, it is an individual. Yes, it is our stakes. And yes, Adam-Ondi-Ahman, Jackson County, Missouri, that is all going to be a specific Zion. In fact, we will have both Zions, those last two Zions, the ancient city of Jerusalem and the New Jerusalem, those will both become the two political centers during the millennium. So Zion will return in that way as well. And then we'll get the reunion with our brothers and sisters from the city of Enoch. But as I looked for one quote to kind of summarize this kind of became my favorite. It's from Brigham Young. He said, "When we conclude to make a Zion, we will make it, and this work commences in the heart of each person." So now notice, parenthetically, notice the principle Brigham Young is teaching here. So the work commences in the heart of each person. When the father of a family wishes to make a Zion in his own house, he must make the lead in this good work, which is impossible for him to do unless he himself possesses the spirit of Zion. Before he can produce the work of sanctification in his family, he must sanctify himself, and by this means God can help him to sanctify his family. So now just think about that as we think about stakes, as we think about creating a new Jerusalem in Jackson County, back in Independence. As we think about these, the work commences in the hearts of each one of us. And it has to start there, because as we take a look at this bullseye, if that center circle is vacant, there's no way we can have a real spirit of Zion in our wards and stakes. And if our wards and stakes don't have the spirit of Zion, remember Moses 7:18, the Lord called his people Zion because they were of one heart and one mind. If we don't have that unity, and there was no poor among them, going back to the verse, if we don't have that charity and that feeling and love towards other people in those first two circles, those center two circles, there's no way the New Jerusalem will ever be built. And so before we can get to New Jerusalem, before we can get to stakes or wards or even families, the work has to commence in us, like Brigham Young said. President Eyring shared years ago in General Conference an example of why it's important to have the spirit of Zion in the individuals before you can put it in the stakes. Take a listen to his story about the people in Orderville, Utah.
You know from studying church history that we have tried to live as one in a variety of settings. The story from one of those tries in Orderville, Utah, gives us a clue as to why it is so hard. Orderville was founded in 1870 and 1871 by people who wanted to live the United Order. In 1875, they began the order. They built housing units in a square with a common dining hall. They built a storehouse, shoe shop, bakery, blacksmith shop, tannery, schoolhouse, sheep shed, and a woolen factory. They grew and made nearly everything they needed, from soap to trousers. They had carpenters, midwives, teachers, artists, and musicians. They produced enough surplus that they could sell it in neighboring towns for cash. With that, they built up a capital fund to buy more land and equipment. The population rose to 700 people. 150 of them gave Orderville a special advantage. They had come to Orderville from the mission on the Muddy River, where they had nearly starved. When those who had been called to the Muddy were released, they were in near destitution. 24 of those families went to Long Valley, founded Orderville, and pledged all they had to the Lord. They didn't have much, but their poverty may have been their greatest contribution. Their having almost nothing provided a basis for future comparison that might have guaranteed gratitude. Any food or clothing or housing that came to them in Orderville would be treasure compared to their privation on the Muddy mission. The time passed, the railroad came, and a mining boom put cash in the hands of people in the neighboring towns. They could buy imported clothes, and they did. The people in Orderville were living better than they had in years. But the memory of poverty on the Muddy had faded. They now focused on what was in the next town. So they felt old-fashioned and deprived. One ingenious boy acted on the discontent he felt when he was denied a new pair of pants from the Orderville factory because his were not worn out yet. He secretly gathered the docked lamb's tails from the spring crop. He sheared the wool from them and stored it in sacks. Then, when he was sent with a load of wool to sell in Nephi, he took his sacks along and exchanged them for a pair of store pants. He created a sensation when he wore the new-style pants to the next dance. The president of the order asked him what he had done. The boy gave an honest answer. So they called him into a meeting and told him to bring the pants. They commended him for his initiative, pointed out that the pants really belonged to the order, and took them. But they told him this: the pants would be taken apart, used as a pattern, and henceforth Orderville pants would have the new store-bought style, and he would get the first pair. That did not quite end the pants rebellion. Orders for new pants soon swamped the tailoring department. When the orders were denied because pants weren't yet worn out, boys began slipping into the shed where the grinding wheel was housed. Soon pants began to wear out quickly. The elders gave in, sent a load of wool out to trade for cloth, and the new style pants were produced for everyone. You know that isn't a happy ending. There were many challenges Orderville faced in the 10 years they lived the order there. One of them they never really conquered. It was the problem of not remembering.
So as we go back, I'm fascinated with this idea of how a group of people so desperately want to live this united order, this higher style of living, and because our hearts aren't quite right, because my mind is set on the things of the world, one individual can literally hold back an entire community from living a higher law. And so as in answer to the question, I think really the answer is yes, all of the above apply to Zion. It's just important for us as the students to be able to identify which of the Zions we're talking about as we study in the scriptures or in the words of the prophets and the prophecies. So I hope that helps. Have a great week. I hope your Thanksgiving is wonderful.